I thought that it was really fun. No, I didn't. Pretty much every time I read one of these books, I'm happy that I read it. And I read a book that wasn't good enough. The most recent One Piece chapter, and I've been crying, so if you can tell, sorry. I finished that thing about Bollywood. So, this is a middle grade book about a girl whose parents are separating. One of them is gonna stay in the house and the other is gonna stay in an apartment that they've gotten, and they're just gonna try to run the family dynamic in a split household. The kids will have 1 week with mom, 1 week with dad. Our main character is guarded. She doesn't express her feelings. She doesn't talk through her emotions. She isn't vulnerable with anyone, her family or her close friends. She doesn't laugh. She says that's funny instead of laughing. She just keeps things really tight. Her parents have argued her entire life, and there's just always been tension in the household, and that's largely why she stays so guarded, because she feels like she has to keep it together for the sake of her brother, who feels everything about their very unstable feeling family dynamic. And so she feels like she has to stay strong for him. She feels like she has to stay strong for the family because her dad has this like conceal don't feel kind of mentality that he's pushed on her and the rest of the family as well. And just generally, you know, whatever. So then also on top of that, she's also having some conflict with her best friend, because her best friend now has another friend, and how dare she have more than one friend? You know, just typical middle school kind of drama. The fun idea about this book is that our main character, Sonali, I think is how you say her name, she loves Bollywood movies. She does not enjoy singing and dancing in front of other people, but she loves Bollywood movies, and as her life is feeling completely unstable and changes are happening around every corner, and as she's feeling less and less secure but just shoving down all her emotions, her world is turning into a Bollywood movie. So the pattern here is that each time something comes up, each time a new change happens, or her parents address another thing, or her parents start arguing in front of her and her brother again, her brother starts crying, whatever it is, and she has the opportunity to talk it out and chooses instead to put on a fake smile and say everything's fine, something else changes. New, really vivid paint splashes onto the walls. The cabinets change colors. All of a sudden her dad's wearing this like really ridiculous toupee that makes his hair really full and like more. Everything turns more. And like her scenery just shifts more into a Bollywood movie, and no one else notices, and in fact everybody else thinks that it's always been that way. Each time there's a Bollywood change that comes from her pushing down her feelings and not talking things out, they also change too and say, no, it's always been this way. So like that's a really fun way to visualize what's going on inside of her. The other element is that, remember, she doesn't like singing and dancing in public. The other element is that she's in a Bollywood movie now, which means there's singing and dancing, and so her body will just start moving against her will, and she starts singing out her feelings against her will. And it's just very like that's the physical representation of what's going on internally, and obviously the moral of the story is learn to express your feelings. So how do I feel about this book? I thought that it was really fun. No, I didn't. So I kind of have two thoughts about it. First of all, I think it'll be a good one for me to keep and read with my kids when they're a little bit older, if they're going through some sort of big transition in their life, like, you know, if we move and they have to make all new friends, get used to a whole new life, like that kind of thing. Some sort of big thing where it feels like their whole world is changing in one fell swoop and they don't feel like they have control over their lives anymore. I think that is a really good conversation starter, and a really good, it could be a fun book for them to read and to feel like they're relating to what's going on in the story, as well as a good opportunity for me to talk about, like, you know, talking out how you're feeling and us finding solutions together. So for that purpose, I quite like the book. I've been reading more middle grade lately, and a lot of them I've been loving, because while they're so good for kids, there's a lot of middle grades that also have a lot for adults to take away and enjoy as well. And I wouldn't say that this book is that way, just because it's so on the nose. It is, I mean, the connections between the physical and emotional turmoil are just like spelled out for you. It's even stuff as simple as like the main character being told outright, here's how you solve the problem. What's internal is what will change the external, right? Like that's given to her. And she's like, what's that mean? It's just like, there's just a lot of stuff where it's, you know, it's so on the nose that I don't feel like it translates to adults enjoying it without purposefully reading it with their kids, which isn't a fault in the book. The book isn't for adults, so I'm not complaining. I'm just letting you know, in case this idea sounds fun and you might consider picking it up, just know I don't think it translates as well for adults. I think it's good for kids, and that's that. I was buddy reading this with a friend, and she mentioned that one big critique she had was that our main character didn't like singing and dancing. And so rather than this Bollywood situation being an escape for her, where she couldn't figure out how to verbalize her feelings, she couldn't figure out how to express herself, or she didn't think she could express herself, but then her world started turning into a Bollywood movie, and then through the expression of song and dance, she was able to finally share her feelings, and then through that she learned to share them in real life too. That, I agree with her, would have been much, much better, because then the book would have been much, much more fun. It's such a fun concept, this Bollywood element, and the way it was done with her pushing down her feelings and then the world just abruptly and aggressively changing in different ways. It's such a fun concept, but because she doesn't like singing and dancing in public, and because her being forced to do it felt like even more of her losing her own agency and losing her own control and having no say in what was happening in her life, it just felt like yet another struggle, you know, like her family dynamic is crumbling, her friendship, her best friend, who she is like her whole world, is crumbling, like everything around her, she's losing control. And then in her world, in this Bollywood sense, she's also losing control and has no agency. So letting that be an escape of something she loved instead of just another thing she hated would have really changed the balance of this book and made it feel like it was fun, but also exploring really real life stuff. And instead it was just a little bit more like of a downer than I think it really meant to be, because from every angle she was having her agency torn away from her. And yeah, I think it would have been more fun. I think my friend's right that it would have been more fun if this was an escape for her instead of just another thing that was being forced on her. Either way, my feelings of this book are that I view it as something good that will be a good, useful tool for me as a parent for my kids when they're older, but just for my own enjoyment's sake, the book wasn't meant for me, and it wasn't for me. But I do want to pick up more. If there's more books that incorporate Bollywood stuff, that element was super fun, and I'd totally be down for reading more books with those elements in them. So if you know of any, let me know. The last medal is going to be here tomorrow, so that means the book won't arrive until midday, but the audiobook will arrive the moment I wake up. So what I need is I need a book that I can complete in one day, which I don't do very often. So I need something short and something that's going to be really easy for me to just like not want to put down. And what I've been craving lately is a survival story, which is a very specific thing that I've recently realized that I just really, really like dropped off on a desert island, trying to survive off of the land, desperate situations, maybe some people are losing it, trying to kill each other. I've only read a handful of these books and I never don't like them. Even when I kind of like, even books that I don't think are top tier survival stories, I still, actually there was one, what was it, One True Loves? Oh my gosh, I hated that book. That one doesn't count. Pretty much every time I read one of these books, I'm happy that I read it, even if it's not, you know, top tier incredible. So anyway, I was trying to decide what to read, and then I watched Books and Lala's most recent video about like what she wants to read for the rest of the year, and she brought up a book that's exactly what I want. And it's short too. It's called Small Game, and I immediately checked to see if my library had the physical or audio. It didn't, but Scribd had the audio. So I've been listening to the audio, and it follows this girl called Mara, who, she runs a survival camp. She is like, she has a lot of wilderness skills herself, and these people pay to be dropped off in the wilderness and to survive the wilderness for a night, which isn't very impressive in her eyes, but to them it makes them feel like they've accomplished something. It makes them feel stronger and all that. And they do it in a safe environment where she can check in on them. She can make sure that they're gonna survive. And so anyway, there's this reality TV show that comes up where they're the way they pitch it is like a Lord of the Flies situation. If we put a bunch of people on this deserted island, on this, you know, island with no civilization, and tell you to survive, how will you do it? How will you fare if you don't have any sort of human intervention or societal structures? If you make the rules, what would humanity look like if we recreated the rules? That's the way they pitch it, is this what would humans, what would society, what would people look like without societal constructs and rules and predisposition, which doesn't really make sense because we've already been raised the way that we've been raised, which is why Lord of the Flies, he did it with children. Doesn't matter. The point is, that's the way they pitch it. But shockingly enough, it's not quite really what they pitch. So it's this reality show. There's cameras everywhere. Mara does have a fair amount of survival skills, and the other people that she's on this island with have different levels of survival abilities, and so they quickly sort themselves into different roles, but very quickly they realize that the film crew is, I don't want to make it sound more nefarious than it is. It's a reality show. They're not here to be your friends. When they're offering advice and help, they're not trying to help you, they're trying to get content out of you. So you kind of like, it's not really a survival story. It's not really a Lord of the Flies situation, or the concept of what the author was doing with Lord of the Flies. It's really just reality show. It's reality TV, but naturally, as is the nature of a book, not everything goes right, and there are sudden changes. And I'm at the point in the book where all of a sudden the situation that they're in they've encountered a drastic shift in their environment. And I don't understand, and I'm not supposed to, why or like where in the world the book is going to go from here. At this moment, I'm not enthralled. I don't feel like this book is doing something that's got me like on the edge of my seat, but it is just a setting and a trope that I just happen to really, really like. So I'm thrilled. Like, this is easily keeping my attention all day long, and it's such a quick, easy read. It was the perfect book for me to choose for this purpose. So I'm gonna finish that out, and then tomorrow I'm gonna start The Lost Metal, which it arrives on a Tuesday, and I have to finish up this vlog on a Wednesday. So I'm definitely not finishing it in that time frame. I can't, even a Sanderson book, I can't read that fast. But, well, like, you know, a 500-page book, I can't read that fast. But I will at least get a good chunk into it, and I'm so excited. Okay. It's been a busy day, and I read a book that wasn't good enough. Here's the thing. It was really good at first. I didn't get to finish it in a day. I overestimate my abilities constantly. I have too much faith in myself. And I finished it this morning. But this is what's important for you to know. It was a great survival story in the first half of it. If you enjoy survival stories, if you like stories about people on an island with nothing and not having enough nourishment and feeling weak and trying to survive and feeling desperate and having no way out, if you like that feeling, cool. It was nice. But then there's the second half of the book where things started escalating, stuff started changing, the situation that they were in wasn't the same anymore. And honestly, it could have been good. Here's what I think. I'm keeping this very spoiler free. First of all, this book is categorized on Google as a suspense book and as a thriller. Suspense, sure, I guess. Thriller, I wouldn't say so. I think the author chose the ending she chose because she wanted people to talk about the book. I think she wanted to create discussions at the end. I just don't think people are gonna like it. It's a very new release, so there's not a ton of reviews out right now, but the reviews that I read through, all the negative ones are like, that didn't even make any sense. And I do agree. There are reasons given in the book for why things went the way they went, but quite frankly, the reasons are not good enough. It's frustrating because I was really enjoying it. And it just like went, it just like nosedived. I don't know. It might be in my worst books of the year list. I might just do a spoilery rant for it. Like low-key rant, not angry rant, just like, you could have been good kind of rant next month during the end of the year stuff. While I was listening to that audiobook, because I didn't have the physical to read as well, I started reading The Climber. This is a rock climbing manga, and I love rock climbing. So I'm really, really enjoying this. I would say if you're a climber, I could totally see you enjoying it too. I mean, I've only read 2 volumes, so I don't know anything about it yet, or I don't know enough about it to really actually say anything of substance. But for the first 2 volumes of this, if you're a climber, you might enjoy it. Because what this author does really, really well is convey the feeling of being a climber. He conveys that peaceful connection that climbers have to climbing, where like when you get on a wall, when you get on a mountain, when you start to climb, it's like, it's just a feeling that I've never been able to verbalize. The physical and mental challenge and the joy of progress and just how good it feels. Like he conveys that so well through the visuals and through the feelings, like the passion that he expresses through these characters. It's amazing. Plot-wise, it's not very good. Boy is forced to climb wall, which leads to love for climbing, so he wants to climb mountain but can't, so he joins climbing competition, or is manipulated into joining climbing competition, and that will somehow lead him to being able to climb. I'm like, it's not a good plot, but I don't care, quite frankly. Like, I don't care. I'm climbing with somebody in this manga, and I'm pretty happy about it. I hope the plot gets better. The first 2 volumes don't really say too much about a manga, so I'm gonna keep reading for sure. I'm also gonna keep reading Full Metal Alchemist, but that's what I've been reading this week. And The Lost Metal came in the mail, so I've read part 1. It's been a very busy day, and that's all I've read today. So I'm loving it. I'm loving the character interactions. I'm loving seeing how much has developed between characters in the time that I've been away from them between books 3 and 4. I'm loving what we're setting up. There's a lot going on as far as like expanding the world and the magic and the possibilities, the opportunities, the things that are being introduced and the implications of it. And I know we're going to explore that further. I know that that's going to be a really big plot point to this story, or I mean, I guess I don't know, I assume. So that's going to be overwhelming and fun, but already there are so many excellent character moments, excellent lines of dialogue, excellent back and forth banter, excellent progress with my characters. Part 1 was solid. Very solid. So, gonna keep working on this. Next week we'll continue to talk spoiler-free about The Lost Metal. There will be a spoiler-filled discussion on my channel on Tuesday. It's gonna be good. The first impressions of The Lost Metal are very positive. I'm very much enjoying myself. So that's what I read this week. I finished 2 books, started a new manga, started another book. I hope that you're having a great reading week. Let me know if you've started The Lost Metal as well. Some people have already finished it, so let me know if you're one of those people. My goodness. I post videos every Tuesday and Thursday on this channel, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the main channel. I'll see you again soon. Bye.